Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Sherrod Show. I'm your host, Sherrod. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. Hump Day. We have a very exciting episode on the show. We have beauty, brains, and talent. This young lady is beautiful. She's also very talented. And also, she's hilarious, ladies and gentlemen. And she was on the show last year. And she's on a very special segment today entitled The Beautiful Face of Comedy, the lovely Irina Voronina, all the way
Morning.
from Russia. Did I say it right?
Yes,
All right, very
yes.
good. And before we get started, the Sherrod Show is brought to you by the Pure Essence Television Network, where you see some of the greatest episodes now trending, from The Temptations to Joe Montega to Jay Leno to Jerry Butler and so many more. Just click the link on your bottom of your monitor and you can see the greatest episodes of your life. It's also brought to you by iHeartRadio. So if you missed this broadcast on television, you can also listen to it on iHeartRadio. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this young lady came to America 24 years ago in 2001, and she's hit the ground running. She's been Playmate of the Year in 2001. She's been on numerous television shows. She's an absolute hilarious comedian as well, and she's here on the Sherrod Show. Irina, welcome back. How are you?
I am good. How are you? I want to make one correction. I was not a Playmate of the Year. I was a Playmate of the Month.
Playmate of the Month. My pardon. You should have been Playmate of the Year. But
There's a
thank you.
difference.
Very good. Now,
Fact
Irina,
checking.
I'm sorry.
Fact checking.
I appreciate that so much. So, Irina, welcome back to the show. You've been a busy lady. Now, let's talk about, first of all, stand-up. Coming from Russia, when oftentimes I see pictures of Russia and everything, nobody's laughing, nobody's smiling, nobody's doing this and that, but yet you're always smiling and bubbly. Where did you get your sense of humor from?
Well, I've been here for 24 years, I'm pretty much American. I get my sense of humor from my mom. She has no filter whatsoever. Like my mother, I think, is a true inspiration for comedy, and I like quoting her in my stand-up.
Now, is she a big fan of your comedy as well?
She doesn't speak English, so and when I try to translate it, what I talk about, it doesn't always work. All she keeps asking me is just, please don't get me arrested. I don't want them knocking on my door to hear about your jokes you make in America.
So now, when you look at comedy, for example, you see a lot of very funny women, you see a lot of very funny men as well. But now you are like a triple threat because you have the looks, you have the talent, but then also you're tall. People don't realize you're tall as well. So you were a fashion model, and also you've done big things like that. So what has the industry brought to you? Have you been very successful with being a triple threat?
I'm not as successful as I like to be. I like to think the best is yet to come.
Mhm.
Because like one thing led to another. I started as a model, then I started acting. Now I'm still building my comedy skills, and yeah, it's still not that easy, I think, in this industry, as far as comedy goes, for pretty girls, because we often are not taken seriously. So I just feel like it takes a little bit more work and a little bit more convincing people than like a usual guy. Like any guy can go to a comedy club, hey, I'm funny, but like as a girl, you kind of have to prove yourself.
So what was it like the very first time you got out there to do comedy? The very first time, it was whatever, it's amateur hour or whatever it was, and the first time you stepped out on the stage. Tell me what that was like.
Oh my God, I was so nervous. I was shaking. My hands were shaking. I had to hold mic with both hands because my hands were shaking. That's how nervous I was. But as a true Russian, I like to conquer my fears. I face my fears. So now my hands don't shake anymore and I'm not as nervous. And I think, just the comedy and being comfortable with who you are, being comfortable on stage, makes you, such a better performer, better actor, better writer.
So everybody usually remembers the first joke that they cracked the first time they got on the stage. Do you remember your first joke?
I don't. I do have a tape from that show, but I don't remember it was a 5-minute set.
Mhm. But a lot of times if they're not laughing, it can feel like you're on there for 10 years. If the crowd is brutal and things like that. But how did you do on the first time? Did they start laughing? Did they have sympathy laughs? What was it like?
Well, I didn't just get out there and wing that, I actually built a set and I rehearsed it. I went to open mics, and once I decided, I'm ready to do a show, like I had a set, at least I had jokes. So
Mhm.
I was still super nervous, but I think I got some great laughs, and it's definitely something I'm proud of. And I've come a long way, don't get me wrong. Like I don't do any of those jokes I did in my first set, but they're still okay. They're acceptable.
Now, what do you enjoy doing more, modeling, telling jokes, or being an actress?
I enjoy creating. As long as I'm creating, I feel alive, whether it's like doing a sketch for Instagram or writing a pilot or a movie script. I love crafting jokes. I don't love, exploring too much. Like the worst part for me is sort of like just going to mics and molding that joke until it works, because like you constantly want to create new material, but it's hard. And sometimes it's hard to beat the material you already have. And you're like, oh, this joke is not as great as my other stuff, but you don't want to keep doing the other stuff. So this is kind of where I'm at. I'm writing, but it's a little bit of self-torture at times.
Now, have you ever worked so hard on a joke and thought it was going to do great, and then it got there and you told it and it bombed?
No, I usually test it. It depends on like how long the joke is. Usually, like if you're crafting like a 2, 3 minute joke sort of story, you have more than one punchline in it, and you just cut out the stuff that doesn't hit. It's a
You know
part
the
of
thing,
the job. It's a
you know
part
the
of
thing is,
the job.
very true. You know the thing that's funny though is that I think the easiest way to be successful as a comedian, if you have the natural talent, is talk about your family. Most people's our families are usually the funniest things. You don't even need to work hard. Just talking about the things that you went through growing up, as well as everybody has a funny uncle, funny auntie, or just dad and mom are just funny. Just watching them. What are your thoughts?
Yes, for sure. I think like writing what you know is the most authentic thing you can do as a comedian. And yeah, as I said, I have so many jokes about my mom, and they're all true.
Now, your dad's not that funny.
My dad passed away a while ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry
I
to hear.
guess he was very funny too, but very like sarcastic funny. He was very cynical. That was his point of view on life.
Very good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, for those who are just tuned in, we're speaking to the lovely Irina Voronina. She's a comedian. She's also a fashion model and actress as well. She was on a show a year ago. Definitely check out the episode. We will be taking your questions momentarily from the audience. I know you have a lot of questions for this beauty queen as well. But Irina, I have a question for you now. When you think of funny, what do you think of, or who do you think of for people that you can just watch? Some people are funny without knowing it, and some people just have great delivery. What is your idea, or who is your idea of funny?
It's a really great question, because I feel like comedy, it's like a buffet in a way. There's always something for someone. Some people, they just like comedians with lots of energy, who do like, for example, like impressions and very like big act out. Some people like physical comics. I personally, I love political comedy. I love all late night show monologues, and I'm always inspired by them. And there's a lot of like political notes in my comedy, because I always try to connect my experiences of growing up in Russia to USA current day and find parallels of what's not. But no, I think we are entering the golden age of comedy, because there's so many outlets out there. There's so many clubs, and there's so many great up and coming comedians.
You said something about monologue comedy. I love Jay Leno and David Letterman. I used to just crack up Jay Leno. I would just stay up late to hear his monologue. It was absolutely hilarious, as well as David Letterman. I like Conan O'Brien's too. His is hilarious as well.
Yeah,
Which one of those three is your top?
probably Conan. Yeah, definitely Conan. I mean, I like Jay Leno, but that was sort of like before my time a little bit. Like I did
Stop it. You're making me seem like I'm a dinosaur. Stop it. I mean,
before I came to America. Let's put it this
that
way.
was a
They
slick
didn't
crack.
necessarily broadcast Jay Leno on Russian television,
Okay.
but I watch Kimmel. I love his monologues. I love his sense of humor, and yeah.
Now, and we'll take a commercial break, right after this question. Now, Irina, what is funny in Russia? I mean, what do they find funny in Russia?
I feel like Russian comedy come a long way since I left. And actually, there's so many comedians who now live here in America and do shows, and I have no idea who they are. Russian humor, I would compare with like British humor, very dry, very sarcastic. There is zero political correctness. It's almost like, it's because I feel like stand-up comedy started maybe early 2000s. They sort of had like stand-up comedy club shows on television, which like it was nothing like this when I lived there. And it's almost like I could compare it to comedy in America in the 80s. It's
Okay.
still so young, and it's not necessarily I don't the smartest at the moment. But again, I'm not a Russian comedy connoisseur. I can only tell by what I see like online.
Do you find yourself laughing at it?
No.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to also find out who's her top 5 funniest comedians of all time. I'm Sherrod. We'll be right back right after this.
Here's an important message from the U.S. Med Diabetes Solution Center. If you have diabetes, you know the pain of pricking your fingers. But now, by wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce your pain right away. It's easy to use and helps you make more accurate diabetes treatment decisions. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. Call the U.S. Med Diabetes Solution Center to learn about this groundbreaking new CGM technology. If you have Medicare or private insurance, call to see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no cost. Shipping is free and will even bill your insurance company for you. U.S. Med is the #1 rated supplier on Google and Facebook reviews. So call us right now to see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no cost. U.S. Med. Better service. Better care.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Sherrod Show. I'm your host, Sherrod, for our Wednesday conversation with the lovely Irina Voronina, the beautiful comedian, absolutely hilarious young lady. She did a skit on my show at our Burbank Studios last year, and people are still raving and laughing about it. So she's a triple threat as well. Now, Irina, before we get to the questions on the audience, when you think about comedians or people, like if you see this person on television, you instantly tune in. Give me your list of your 5 funniest comedians.
Wow. I was not prepared for this. I think there's so many funny people out there, and it's really hard to like exclude somebody or, like I think Dave Chappelle is great. I love Amy Schumer. I love Ali Wong. I love Moses Storm. I think he's also on Conan writing team we talked about earlier. Like he's hilarious, and he does sort of like a one-man show, which is an entire journey he takes you on. Anthony Jeselnik, so controversial, always pushing the envelope. There's so many people out there. I love Atsuko Akatsuka, who recently, I think, has a Hulu special, an HBO special. Like she's amazing, and I've known her since before she was famous. So I love so many people. It's so hard to just say top 5. There's a lot of great comedy out there.
Very, very true. And then, a lot of comedians are great either as stand-up, but maybe not so funny in sitcom. And some are funny in sitcom and not so good at stand-up. Like, for example, Jerry Seinfeld is one of my favorite comedians, but I love him more in sitcom more than I do at stand-up. What are your thoughts?
I think Jerry Seinfeld, I love him and I respect the craft. and I think he's amazing. But it was also the time where industry would see a white guy in the club who can do a little bit of stand-up, and they would give them their own show. So it's a little bit of, luck. It's not necessarily that he was that great that they created a show around him because he fit the profile. And luckily, sorry, my 17-year-old cat wants to climb on my lap.
17-year-old. Wow.
17, yep. You guys are witnessing Poofy.
Beautiful,
She is
beautiful.
still around and she is still kicking it.
Beautiful. 17 years old. Wow.
I know this cat has like been dying since last May, but she's still around.
Very good. Very good.
But anyway, I think Jerry Seinfeld got very lucky. And he was amazing in the show. And I watched the show and I think it's hilarious, but it's not just him, it's a team of writers behind him. But I actually, have you watched Deli Boys? Just premiered on Hulu.
No, I have not.
I just find Deli Boys absolutely hilarious. And it's one of the comedians, Asif Ali, stars in it. And he's as funny as he's on stage doing stand-up. I highly recommend. That's my new favorite show.
Okay, now say the name again so we can check it out.
Deli Boys on Hulu.
Very good. We will do that, definitely. It's time for the audience members to ask a few questions to the lovely Irina. We also have we're going to get her contact information as well. You can follow her. But right now we have Jan. Oh my goodness. Jan is all the way from Rhode Island. She said, wow, incredible show. I remember when she was on the show a year ago on Sherard's birthday. That is correct. She remembers you on my show on her birthday, and she's from Rhode Island. Her question though is, what is it that is the most difficult thing of being a female comedian?
Just, breaking the glass ceiling. It's still difficult. It's getting a lot better, but there's a lot of times, you're the only woman on the lineup, right? You going to open mics and you're the only woman among 20 other guys. And it's not necessarily that like I'm intimidated by any of it, but it's more like that nobody understands your perspective. So I think it's so important, for other women, support women on stage. And if you see a female comedian you like, please like their posts, go to their live shows, because it means the world. We're so much stronger when we're together.
Very good. We appreciate it, Jan. This one is from Shanice. This is from Shanice. She's all the way in Jersey City. She's saying it's incredible, Sherard, having comedians on the show. She absolutely loves it. Her question is, what kind of advice would you give for women wanting to start off in the industry of comedy?
Don't do it. Just, I think if anyone wants to start from scratch without any background in writing or performance, just know that you don't become a great comedian overnight. This is like a 5 to 10 year project, because probably in 5 years into comedy, you just start understanding who you are and you understanding what your brand is, and you develop your unique style. Before then, it was more like throwing spaghetti at the wall and like, oh, this works. Oh, let's tell this jokes. Now I have a very clear understanding, like what I want to say with my set and what I want people to take away from my show. And, usually a 10-year mark is when a comedian becomes a headliner, where like you develop enough material, like maybe like 1 to 2 hours of material. That's really good. That's A-list material, meaning there's a lot of punchlines and nonstop laughs. So it's not an overnight thing where you can do it as a hobby just for fun. But if you're looking to do it professionally, it's going to take a long time.
Very good. Very good answer. I really appreciate that. We appreciate your question, Shanice. Last one. This is from Shanessa. She is from Chicago, Illinois. She said this is really cool to have Sherard have a beautiful comedian on the show as well. Her question is, have you ever bombed, and how were you able to recover from it if you did?
I never bombed to where nothing worked, but I have had shows that just weren't that great. Um, I guess it's a part of growing as a comedian is to give yourself permission to bomb. Because if that doesn't happen, there is no growth. And you don't know what you're doing wrong, and you have to learn from certain things. So I'm grateful for even the shows where I almost bombed and didn't do my best and didn't feel like the audience liked me, because it gave me something to reevaluate in my set, like why did certain things didn't work, why maybe I didn't connect with the audience, why did they not like me. So yeah, it's a part of growth.
Very good. We really appreciate all you all's questions. We do not have time to get to them all. Irina, where can they be able to reach out to you for further questions?
I'm on Instagram at Irina Voronina, and yeah, also a comedy one is Irina Voronina Comedy. So check me out, write,
Definitely,
comment,
definitely
subscribe.
check her out. Definitely check her out. You have a lot more new fans on the show today, I'm noticing. Irina, any final thoughts?
Well, thanks for having me. You know, we're in Hollywood. It's magical. I'm looking forward to all the opportunities this year is going to bring. And yeah, life is great and exciting.
Do you have any upcoming sets?
Yes, I'm opening for my very good friend Jason Stewart in Ventura, California, this Saturday, the 15th of March. On the 16th of March, I'm performing at Corbin Bowling Alley. There's a little bar there. We're doing a very cool independent show. It's this Sunday, March 16th. On March 21st, I'll be at the Comedy Chateau in North Hollywood. And, you know, for further dates, just follow me on Instagram and I'll post about my future shows.
Thank you so much, Irina. Really appreciate you stopping by the show. You really beautified the show. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you.
We really
No, it's
appreciate all
poofy.
your
It's poofy. No, I'm surprised nobody asked, like, how did you get this cat to live till 17?
I guess that was the fourth question.
I
But
have two words for you, health insurance for animals.
very good. We really appreciate that word of advice. Stay tuned on our next episode of the Sherrod Show. We have the boxer Relic stopping by, who's on his way for greatness, and we can't wait to talk to him as well. For Irina and all those my Sherrod Show fans and family, always remember, ladies and gentlemen, the best way to get back on your feet is the mystery car payments. I'm Sherrod. See you next episode. Bye now.